Today's podcast is sponsored by the Association of Mature American Citizens, the only conservative alternative to AARP. Go to amacamac.us/Carter. Okay, so when you get to a point where you've been crying, you've been working to the point where you hit walls, and then those walls, I don't even know where they go, and then you just get up again and do it all over again. I just kept doing that over the last 14 days. I feel like I've been doing that for the last actually 6 months. I was able to travel again after COVID. Remember COVID? COVID, it actually is still there. And by the way, for all of you out there who are fans of Gary Brugman and who know who Gary Brugman is, he wasn't able to respond to me, but I was able to actually get on the phone and talk to him. He is thankfully off of his ventilator. Kim, you are amazing. You are a hero. She's out there with him right now, a friend of ours. Yeah, I'll see him in a few weeks. I'll be there to help out. And my husband and I, and we're moving to Texas. Yes. Moving from the swamp to the great state of Texas. It's going to be amazing. But I want to get back to the show because we have a lot to update you on. I mean, I know you've been watching the news. God help all the people in New Orleans and this hurricane that has done so much damage and of course is so deadly. But Afghanistan's still the top, news story because there are Americans still trapped in Afghanistan. Americans and allies. And I'm going to explain to you on this show why this is so unacceptable. Why this administration making the decisions that they made, because it was based on decisions that they made. We know how to do this. We have the best of the best in the world, let me tell you. And those folks who, by the way, were involved in other NEOs, they're called NEOs, are disgusted with the way this was handled in Afghanistan and the fact that so many Americans are facing possibly certain death. I'll explain that. And what about our allies? What about all those folks out there that believed and worked hard? And by the way, I know some of you out there are going to be upset and say, well, we don't want these Taliban people coming here to the United States. Well, what if this, what if that? Let me put it to you this way. A lot of our allies, and I'll explain why the Taliban will, even if somebody was a Taliban sympathizer, why they're more than likely not even interested in coming to the United States. But why ISIS and Al-Qaeda is. We'll talk a little bit about that on the show and the differences between that, because I don't think a lot of people get that, and I get that. And then I want to go into the details of like those Americans and the Americans that I've been speaking with. And I have some exclusive video. I think that some of the video has already been shared, so maybe it's not so much exclusive. When I first got it, it was exclusive, trust me, but it was terrifying, of Americans trapped in Kabul at Taliban checkpoint lines. Americans that were not allowed to pass these checkpoint lines because President Biden cut a deal with the Taliban that basically gave them control of the capital of Kabul and did not even consider that these ragtag fleet, right, of disgusting terrorists whose ideology is so extreme that they have no moral compass when it comes to life, basically gave them control of the city and put all of our Americans and our allies at risk. And I mean, he did so willingly that even the head of the Taliban, Mullah Baradar, was stunned. He was stunned. He couldn't even believe it. It was like, here's the keys to the kingdom, terrorists, enjoy. But we do have a number of Americans. Some are in safe houses that I know about. Those numbers range anywhere between 300 to 1,500 Americans still trapped there. Remember, you can get all of our stories. Please follow and subscribe and get all of the links at SaraACarter.com. That's SaraACarter.com. Also, we're building up my foundation. It's called The Dark Wire, an investigation foundation. I've had it since 2018. And you can go to thedarkwire.com for the latest stories from some really incredible writers, interns that our foundation has been working with literally all summer, putting together some incredible stories on our national security, the danger to our national security from Central America, from China, from that, I guess that kind of relationship, that strange growing relationship between the Chinese and our neighbors next door, as well as what's happening with Mexico, the drug cartels, and our border. You don't want to miss a story at either of those, sarahacarter.com or thedarkwire.com. And while you're there, please sign up for our email list. There is nothing better than slipping into a bed with soft, comfortable sheets, not just the pillows that Mike Lindell makes at the end of a long day. Now, My Pillow wants you to sleep better with their Giza Dream Sheets, made from the world's best cotton, grown in a small area of the Mediterranean, and made into a fabric that is ultra soft and breathable. The Giza Dream Sheets sateen weave gives them this luxurious finish that will have you sleeping like a dream. For a limited time only, you can save 50% on all Giza Dream Sheets. Go to mypillow.com, click the radio listeners square, and use the promo code Carter, CARTER, at checkout, or call 1 800 685 7221 to get the Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $49.99. That is so cheap, you guys. And they're amazing. You'll also find deep discounts on all My Pillow products, including the My Pillow mattress topper, My Pillow towel sets. By the way, I have the mattress topper. It is so comfy. It's great. The towel sets, the towels are great, and so much more. Don't miss the sale of the year. That's mypillow.com, promo code Carter, or call 1 800 685 7221. Sleep better with mypillow.com. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm thinking like, I just feel like I don't know if you guys feel this way, but do you ever feel like you've woken up and it's like you're not even in reality? Like this cannot be happening. Like this really can't be happening to our nation. We really can't be the country that left Americans behind. I don't know if you feel that way, but I sure do. I look at my husband and I think about all the battles he fought and, all the wars that he was willing to put himself on the front line for our nation and what it's done to him. Because great, my husband, he's amazing. I mean, he's blind, he's been through all kinds of stuff, but guess what? He is also, paid a heavy price. It's really tough for him, and I know it. And he doesn't want to complain, and he doesn't want to, be a burden. And but everything that he did was to protect our country and his mission. And part of that creed, part of that mission for all of the guys that were there, and that's how I live my life. You always fight till the last moment for your family, for your friends, for your colleagues, for your countrymen, for your allies. You don't walk away when it gets hard. You don't just say, I'm tired of this. You want me to tell you about being tired? And I've said this before. I've heard so many Americans who've had nothing, and I get it. I get it. We get tired of hearing the same thing on TV. I'm not judging, but I just want you to be in my shoes for 1 minute. Just step in my shoes, step in my husband's shoes for 1 minute. Our entire lives since September 11th, 2001, have been all consumed, unfortunately, a lot of it, with the war on terror, either covering the war on terror as a journalist or my husband fighting in the wars overseas, trying to target those terrorists that were planning on bringing that terror here to the United States again. But they decided to go overseas and fight it. Months away from home, months away from their children, years in the end away from everyone, being consumed by war, on the front lines, watching your friends die. We were just actually at a funeral of one of my husband's friends, somebody he really loved, and somebody that a lot of people loved, because boy, there were a lot of people at that funeral at Arlington. They continued to fight no matter how tired they were. I know a lot of the Americans are saying, we were tired of that war, America's longest war. But for most people, honestly, think about it. You were never really there. You never had to worry about the terrorists coming, to your mall, because there were guys like my husband and women, like those Marines that lost their lives, and men fighting it for us. Young people, not just, the older, military guys like my husband and the commanders and stuff, but kids, 18, 19 years old. And by the way, our intelligence officials that are over there as well, doing the same thing, fighting the fight so that it didn't need to come here. And all of those Americans that are overseas, yes, Americans, even if they have an accent, even if they're originally from Afghanistan, they carry an American passport and they were given that passport and they are true Americans because they are protecting the Constitution of this country. And some of them, I want you to think about this, have even turned in members of their own family. Members, people that they maybe grew up with. I mean, think about it. Think about if that happened here in the United States and you had to work against what was happening in your own country, against America. I mean, just put yourself in those shoes. And so many of our Afghan allies went through the process. I know I was talking about when I was teasing a little bit at the top of the show. A lot of them were like, look, we've been told that we follow the process, we turn in all our documentation, we'll have an opportunity to be an American. Why? Because we want to support a nation that believes in freedom and liberty. And we've met these great American men and women that are here, whether they're at the embassy, whether they were on the battlefield, whether they were teaching at the University of Kabul. God bless all those American and British teachers that went down there to educate young Afghan people. Brilliant Afghan people, by the way. I went to University of Kabul. I spent time there. I actually met the most wonderful woman, and I'll tell you about it in a future show. I want to get back to what I'm talking about, but Nancy Dupree, who died, has an amazing story. You ever want to look her up? Look her up. Nancy Dupree, who I'll talk to you about, but all of these amazing, beautiful, beautiful human beings. That's why my husband and I was just telling my producers before I came on, it's cathartic in a way that, always try to find closure to things. I don't feel closure for Afghanistan. I feel complete dread, but we do have an Afghan family coming, a former interpreter who I worked with and his beautiful little baby boy and his wife who did make it out. I'm still trying to get the rest of his family. And my husband is actually super thrilled about this. I remember when I was first asking him, I was thinking, man, Marty's not going to be happy about this. I mean, we have a lot of stress in our lives. We've got a lot going on. And, he was like, I'm really excited. I really can't wait for them to come stay with us. I really want to, meet this beautiful little baby. It's almost like full closure, right? Right? For him, it's like Rich said something, he's a producer on the show, and he said something that I really didn't put into words. I thought about, but I couldn't put it into words, but he did. It was almost as if Marty, my husband, right, was doing what the United States could not do. What we were doing, we were finding resolution as two people, two different religious backgrounds, two different countries, but we're the same inside, right? And we proved to each other that we would want to be in the foxhole together, that we would stand by each other no matter what. But President Biden didn't do that. President Biden and this administration said, we're too tired. It's too exhausting. Screw it. Let's just leave. But hey, what about the Americans? What about our allies? It's not that easy, folks. Life should never be about just walking away. Sorry if it's uncomfortable for you. Sorry, President Biden, if you wanted to do it before September 11th. Who cares? I hate dates. You know why? Because it just feeds Al Qaeda. It just feeds ISIS and all of these disgusting terrorists that have not only made our lives a living hell, but have made the lives of our allies in the Middle East and in South Asia a living hell. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the fact that, they picked the date that they were going to kill us, right? I don't own that. I want to own that. And that means we don't leave our Americans or our allies behind. That's how we own it. We tell them to back up and F off. I'm trying to not use all the language on here that I could be using. But we tell them that. We're America. We're not going to allow this to happen. Unfortunately, we did. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans like me and others are still working to get people out. There have been a lot of great people, a lot of networks of people trying to reach out to our allies, trying to bring them, whether they're Afghan Americans living here, whether they're people that are just, hey, how can I help? I'm in the government. What can I do? Hey, I'm in Congress. What can I do? Hey, I've got a clearance. I'm talking to someone. What can I do? Who can we get out? Who can we bring? Who can we save? Who can we document in case they lose their lives? I want to play this clip. This is a mother and her children all carrying American passports. These are Americans. They tried to reach the gates at Kabul. They basically were not only denied entry by the United States, I'm hearing now, by the people that were running that because they didn't want to open the gates anymore. These are Americans, but they were also stuck at a Taliban checkpoint again. Listen to this.
Checkpoint, they don't let me go in. So what do we do? That's my son. Passport also, they are citizen and they don't let us still go. We are in close to airport, and that's my daughter also.
I want you to think about it. If you're a mom and you're with your children in a car and these monsters are pointing guns at you and you literally have to flash your passport to the Taliban, they are your enemy. And basically, Joe Biden and his administration not only allowed the Taliban to surround the perimeter of the airport and take control. And by the way, those Taliban guards at Barn Gate, where Abby, the very first big VBID, that's a vehicle-borne explosive device, went off, where 170 people were killed and 13 of our Marines and 15 plus wounded Marines, they allowed that group to go through. There's a lot of weird games being played here right now. A lot of weird games. But I want you to think about this. Why on God's earth would the president of the United States of America and his team turn over a list of Americans and allies to the Taliban? You can't be that stupid. You just cannot be that stupid. So you have to ask yourself, why? What is it? What's going on here? They're just hoping that you don't pay attention to any of this. They're just hoping with this whole mess. They were probably thanking God for the hurricane, because then that way news would shift. You wouldn't have to hold them accountable on this. God bless the people in the path of the hurricane, though. I'm praying for all of them, right? But I'm telling you right now, why would anyone do that? You would have to think they're not that much of imbeciles, are they? Are they? And then you got to ask yourself this question. How is it possible? How is it possible that we're losing all of our freedoms as well? How is it possible that Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who was a war hero, then targeted by, of course, John Brennan, James Clapper, all these guys that he used to work for, they destroyed his name. They tried to destroy his life. They've tried to humiliate him. And now you've got people like the CEO of Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and others making decisions to basically take away his credit and his ability to live. So Chase Bank basically canceled all of General Flynn's family's credit cards. They weren't late on payments. No, they didn't do anything to violate the standard operating procedures of whatever payments needed to be made. They literally told General Flynn in a letter to his family and him that doing business with General Flynn could pose a risk for their reputation. I want to tell you something about JP Morgan Chase. They were busted because one of their ships was caught with 20 tons of cocaine. They have been busted by the Department of Justice and had to pay out over $900 million because of their connections to like serious bad guys, mobsters, money being laundered through their banks. And they had the gall to send General Flynn and his family a letter that all of their credit cards would be canceled. I want you to think about the complexity, what that means to you as an American, and how you are being, and I are being threatened in a way by these woke corporations, these fascists, right? In the making. It is a brave new world, folks. It is a brave new world. Think about your freedom. Think about what that mother went through at that checkpoint and how her freedom was snatched right from underneath her. And the fact that she and her children could be the next victims of the Taliban. Americans, do you trust your government? If you were overseas right now as an American, would you have faith that your government, that President Biden and his administration would stand by your side after asking so much of you that they would get you out? Do you have faith in that? I wouldn't. I would not have faith in that. I would be terrified of that. You know, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tunnel to Towers Foundation. It has been honoring heroes ever since September 11th. Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors our military and our first responders who continue, by the way, to make the supreme sacrifice of life and limb for our country. The foundation is bringing 200, think about this, mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children. And now more than ever, especially after the death of all of those Marines, and some of them were getting ready to be fathers, right? We saw that, the Marine from Wyoming. So this group will actually help these families, right? And this is why we need to support Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They also assist our nation's most catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. To honor the fallen, Frank Siller is connecting where America was attacked on foot. The Pentagon, Shanksville, and downtown Manhattan. That's where we're going to be meeting him in New York. Me, my husband, and my family, my daughter. And by the way, I have an Afghan family that says they're going to meet me there to walk. I helped get his wife out of Kabul University. So they may be walking with me as well. It's very exciting. So anyways, we are going to be walking in support and in remembrance of all of these families and our first responders. Honor our vow to never forget. Think about this. All you need to donate is $11 a month at t2t.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. So I spent a lot of time in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. I spent some time in Iraq covering ISIS, Islamic State. And I basically, I wouldn't say I'm like an expert, but I know a lot about Al-Qaeda and a lot about, Islamic State and the difference with the Taliban. I used to say, oh gosh, at least with the Taliban, I'd have a fighting chance of getting out maybe, like in some kind of hostage situation if I was kidnapped. ISIS, no way. Al-Qaeda, no way. And ISIS was like Al-Qaeda on steroids. They all had a different way of dealing with their belief in I would say the Islamic, right? The Quran, in the Quran, and how they decided to interpret the hadiths, which are those stories in the Quran, and what that meant to them. Well, I had found an Islamic State recruitment document, and it'll explain very quickly the difference between Islamic State and the Taliban. The Islamic State had this recruitment document in Pakistan. I had a source there, and in 2015, they got it out for me. It was kind of like people described it as their Mein Kampf, in a way of seeing the world. And they believed that they were going to trigger a nuclear war in India to provoke an Armageddon like end of the world. I had this document, which was very detailed, and was extremely important, even to U.S. intelligence officials. I had the 32-page Urdu document translated into English by this amazing translator I found named Mustafa Samandi, who worked at Harvard in the United States. And as this document unfolded, and I read into it, I was I was I was stunned. I was stunned at their belief. I was stunned at their determination to target the United States. The document was titled A Brief History of the Islamic State Caliphate. They believed in a caliphate, which means that they believed that they had to establish a caliphate first, which means a Arab world, like a strict Islamic type of extremist, I would say, government, right, across the Arab states before actually going after the United States and such. So they had to get basically Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Pakistan and South Asia, eventually, Afghanistan and other Muslim practicing nations to kind of follow suit and to adopt their kind of Armageddon like ideology. That Al Qaeda, on the other hand, was a little bit different. Al Qaeda believed, yeah, we'll deal with the Islamic states later, right? We'll deal with Saudi Arabia, Yemen, all these guys later. We're just going to target the US. We're going to target the US. Now, the Taliban, on the other hand, they see it as they're very South Asia centric. So I hear a lot of people saying, and a lot of my friends, because they don't know. I mean, how are you going to know? What do you know about the Taliban, right? I don't even know enough about the Taliban. But they're like, oh, what if Taliban comes to the United States? What if the Taliban come here? The Taliban don't want to come here. The Taliban are very happy living in that situation that they are creating in Afghanistan right now. They want an Islamic emirate. They want to give Afghanistan an Islamic religious state. They want all the Western ways dissolved. They do not want their daughters going to school. They do not want their daughters educated or their wives. They're very, very antiquated. So you're not going to be worried so much about like whether the Taliban's going to be in those group of people. No, this is just about people. A lot of people were rushing the planes. I was telling the producers of the show this story. A friend of mine who has finally made it here. I also was helping with his family get here. He said when he got to Doha off this plane, the big C-17 and everybody was unloading and it was just chaotic. But this friend of mine is an American, by the way, and he got his family here. He said he ran into this 12-year-old boy and he said, where are your parents? Because he wanted to help him out. He thought the boy was lost. And the 12-year-old boy said, I think my parents are still in Afghanistan. And he said, my gosh, how did you get here? And this was in the first planes, right? And he said, I just kept running with everyone. Like they were outside of the airport and all these people started to flood the airport and a whole bunch of people just started running on planes. And I think you remember those videos of the planes, the C-17s taking off for Doha. And sadly, some people were so desperate. They held on to the plane. They went in the wheelbarrow, whatever of the wheel, and they came flying out. It was just horrific. Yeah, Joe Biden. It wasn't Vietnam. The scenes from Vietnam at the end, it was actually far worse than what we saw in Saigon. People were literally falling from the skies. And I'm not taking away from what happened there in Saigon, but what we saw in Afghanistan was just horrific. So it was a lot about people just trying to get away. You have to imagine if you and I were just sitting here doing our regular daily stuff, right? And all of a sudden, the craziest group of criminal extremists, religious extremists started taking over our communities. And there was a plane, not far, and you heard that you can get on it and leave. And you knew how bad life was under the Taliban. I mean, people were just running for their lives. And yes, there is a distinct possibility, yes, that there were people that got on those flights that could have been bad guys. Maybe. I don't know. We have to go through that. We have to figure out who we are permitting to come into this country. But I want to make it very clear to all of you. And this is how I feel personally. And I don't expect you to feel this way. You never were there. You weren't my husband. You weren't fighting there. Maybe some of you were, maybe some of you weren't. Everybody has the right to their own opinion. But I'm going to tell you how I feel. There is no reason for us to put away our principles and our American values just because we're afraid. Look at what's happened to our country. Look at what's happened under COVID. Look at what happened to Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Look at what happened to President Trump. Look at what happens when we allow fear to dictate how we operate as a people. There may be some bad guys in there. Al Qaeda, we should be scared. Yeah, because they will plan another attack. because of the mismanagement of the war in Afghanistan, they have another safe haven and Islamic State. But we're the United States of America. We have ISR capabilities. That's our intelligence and our surveillance capabilities like none other on the planet. We can have platforms outside of Afghanistan, and every time we see these Al Qaeda fighters or these terrorist fighters at a training camp, boom, drone strike them. You're gone. Don't be afraid. This enemy wants you to be afraid. They want you to want, because they think we're lazy. They think, oh, we're going to forget. And then they're going to come in with another bomb and then they're going to blow us up or fly an airplane into something or do something. Don't be afraid. Send the message. We need to be on the offensive. We need to be on the offensive. But we are also Americans and we live on principle. And our nation is built on beautiful and diverse peoples that sought freedom. I always say they got the X gene. A lot of us have the X gene, right? That's what makes us so different. Our ancestors, they struggled and fought so that we could be here for freedom. They didn't just sit back. They didn't sit behind. They were that 12-year-old boy that ran to the airplane and said, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to grow up in Afghanistan with the Taliban. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And when you see these families, and if you meet a family from Afghanistan, you will be stunned at how amazing some of these families are. If you see an Afghan family at your kid's school or they're just starting a new life here, just talk to them. They're so awesome. For the most part, the food is fantastic. I love Afghan food. It's just really great. Their conversations are great. They have so much to teach us. They're very strong people. They have learned to survive against some of the most horrendous conditions. And they absolutely understand the meaning of freedom. They absolutely do. The ones that have made it here for the most part, like all immigrants, believe in freedom, believe that they are a part of something greater, which is this United States of America. They're a part of our fabric of who we are. That's an awesome feeling to me. I'm super excited. I can't wait I wish I could say my friends' names, but I can't really because I don't want to do that. We still have a lot of their family that we have to get out. And so I'll talk about everything from time to time. I think I'm going to do a blog, a military family. What's it like, have a special ops husband and me with an Afghan family all living together. It'll be kind of a fun blog. I don't know. Everybody loves Raymond, maybe kind of, who knows? It'll be kind of interesting. But it'll be like everybody loves Ahmed. Maybe I'm giving you a hint. But we are very excited. And we had a lot of skin in the game. We really did. We have been through a lot. Our lives have been pretty much consumed by war this last decade and by the tragedy of war, right? Every day my husband gets up. I swear to God, he hits something. He knows it's there. He's like the best around the house. He can move. He listens to my podcast all the time. And sometimes people don't even realize he's blind. They really do not know he's blind. And that's a story for another day. It's pretty hilarious. Like when they do realize it, they get so embarrassed and they're apologizing all the time. And my husband's like, you don't need to apologize. But it's tough. It's tough on him. Somebody leaves a door open or, we're in a new environment and he, trips down something or he hits something, it's not easy. So we live with it every day. We do. And it's okay. It's okay. That was our choice. That was the choices that we made in life. But we live on principle and we believe in that principle. And that is the principle of liberty and freedom. And that's what people all over the world are fighting for. ISIS doesn't care about that. The Taliban surely doesn't care about that. Al Qaeda surely doesn't care about that. But they live in a constant state of hate. They live in so much unhappiness and strange extremist cult-like beliefs. And there is nothing about what they do that is good, right? We're not like that. We're not going to live in their fear. And when people come to this country and they search for freedom and they come here the right way, we need to welcome them with open arms, because every single one of us came from someplace. Our grandparents, our great grandparents, our whatever, even if we were Irish and I have some of my dad's side of the family that, my gosh, Ellis Island, what was it like for them, the Irish and the Scottish and the Brits, and living in New York, and all the crazy stories we hear, and the Italians, and all of us, the Polish and the Jews that came from Europe, during World War II, all of us came from something pretty horrible or pretty devastating, for the most part. Not every single one of us, but for the most part. So don't be scared. Don't let Al Qaeda win. Don't live into that. We need a better government, that's for sure. Not a better constitution, not a better Declaration of Independence, but we need to vote out. That's got to be our mission, each and every one of you. Right? This isn't even about Republican or Democrat anymore. This is about malfeasance. This is about leaving Americans behind. This is about leaving our allies behind. This is about the possibility that we will be targeted by these extremist groups again, because we failed in our responsibility to do the right thing when it came to Afghanistan, whether that was leaving right at the beginning. I mean, we could debate that all day long, but we failed there. We need to own up to it. But we also need to stand up for our principles, and we need to show the rest of the world that we are not all like Joe Biden. We are not all like Susan Rice or whoever the heck is running the White House right now. And we need to use our responsibility, our liberty and freedom to go and vote, our democratic republic. We need to do whatever it takes to vote these guys out of office and do the right thing. We need to hold them accountable. And by the way, guys, we need to get out there and say, you will not leave any American behind. Our lawmakers are listening. Call your local congressional office. Call someone. Let them know. Let them know that you are watching and that you care, and that those Americans who are in Afghanistan, whether they're 300 or 1,500, that we will go and get them. And I don't give a whatever what Mullah Baradar thinks, or whatever deal bad deal, by the way, horrible deal that we cut with the Taliban. We don't need to observe that. That's not a real deal. The deal is we want our people back. We want our allies back, and that we will be watching them every single day. Those Talibs, those ISIS, those Al Qaeda guys, and a real president would send them a direct message for everything that they have done. For everything that they have done. I'm so grateful for you to be a part of the Sara Carter Show and for you to be here with me. But before we go, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Federal Reserve. It admits that inflation is increasing. So how do you protect your investments? Well, that's with gold, guys. Gold. With so many gold companies, what about what just happened to General Michael Flynn? Do you really? I mean, really, I'm seriously wondering when someone's going to cut off my credit cards. That's crazy. And not for being late. So here we are. We have an alternative here. And that's with gold. And how do you know who to trust, or that you're getting authentic rare coins and precious metals that they say you're getting? Well, that's easy. It's Universal Coin and Bullion. Universal Coin and Bullion. Visit universalcoin.com/Sara or call 1-800-UCB-GOLD to get a no-cost, no-obligation gold info kit to easily protect and enjoy your rare coins and precious metals. Tell them Sara sent you. That's universalcoin.com/Sara or call 1-800-UCB-GOLD. Again, thank you for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Please share this episode with your family and friends. I want everybody to know what's going on. I want everybody to join together. We're all Americans. You're my family. That's the way I see it. I would never leave any one of you or your children behind. I learned that from my amazing husband. We're here for each other. That's what we've got to be. We've got to do that. We can't win against these horrible human beings, these terrorists, these evil, what do they call them? Evildoers. Is that what Bush used to call them? The evildoers. We can't win against these extremists if we are all divided. Let's not be divided. Let's stand up. Let's do the right thing. We all know what it is. And that's to stand up for one another and hold people accountable. Thank you again for being a part of this show. Go to saraacarter.com for all the links to everything on social media and sign up for my email list there. Remember, right here is where we're taking the story back. God bless. Frank Ziller, I am so happy to actually meet you. Tunnel to Towers is an organization, a foundation that I am so proud being a sponsor for the Sara Carter Show. So thank you so much. Talk to me about the impact of the foundation and what you've been able to do to date since starting the organization.
Well, never in a million years did we think we'd be doing all the work that we're doing. We just want to make sure that we honored the sacrifice and never forgot what happened on 9/11, not just to Stephen, but all those that perished that day. But you know what? Just 10 years ago, we delivered our first smart home. From there, we realized there's such a great need. These great men and women are coming back with these injuries that they would never have survived before on the battlefield. And they need specially adapted smart homes, and they deserve to have a mortgage free. And that's what we've been doing ever since. So, to date, we've done over 250 of those mortgage free homes, whether it's for smart home recipients, Gold Star families, or fallen first responder families that leave young kids behind. And this year alone, we're going to deliver 200 of those mortgage free homes. So we're very proud of that work. And they're not inexpensive. Each one of them not inexpensive. So we count on the goodness of America to join us.
T2T.org. That's T2T.org. It's only $11 a month. It's up to every single one of us to do our part to help those that were willing to give everything to protect us and our families.